Calling the meeting to order at 1:03. I'm gonna say that we're gonna accept the agenda as written, and I'm gonna read the announcement. This is Mickey Rowland, Chair of Historic Structures Advisory Board. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Lucy?
Yes.
Angus?
Here.
Brooke?
Here.
And Jason is still not with us, so Jason is absent. No staff, no anticipated speakers. So this open meeting of the HSAB is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 21 of the Acts of 2021. For this meeting, HSAB is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Participants may find information on the content of this meeting at that location. Please note the meeting is being recorded and each vote taken will be by roll call. So that's that. All right, so on the agenda, we're starting with 1 Cambridge Street. And I'm going to bring that up. Share my screen. It's not that one, it's this one. 1 Cambridge Street. Okay. So there's somebody on a phone. Can the phone person identify themselves at 508-221-1325? I just want to know which meeting you're here for.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. This is Virginia Andrews.
Hi, Ginger. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm gonna...
Going back to mute now.
Okay, thanks. All right. Okay, so nobody's here representing this one. In other words, all right. Did you all get a copy of this? I got Esmeralda to send it out, so at least we could see it ahead of time. It wasn't on the regular view list. The issue apparently is that I don't know if the existing building encroached on the property line. It looks like it did. So the new building now needs to conform, and the applicant is proposing to put a jog in the building to maximize this ground cover. Anyway, we end up with this proposal with the gable forward and the 2 dormers and the gable facing west. Of course, I have a list of comments, but I'm going to let somebody else that wants to say anything about this go first. Any thoughts, anybody? Brooke?
My first impressions are that I prefer this north elevation over what was previously approved. I think it's more interesting. I think the west elevation, I think that gable does not necessarily help the design. I think it makes it feel a little top heavy and kind of creates the appearance of a cross gable, which may or may not be appropriate in this area. And then let's see what the other elevations, do you mind going to those? Yeah, the other elevations I think are essentially just they'll have whatever it's I can't find my words. But they're basically similar. So I think any change on the north and the west, or any change on the west, that's really my only concern is just that west elevation. So that's it.
Okay. Angus?
Sure.
So my concerns are consistent with what the concerns have been from the beginning, which is the development of the third floor space. It just feels too vertical in that location. So the previously approved 2-story with the continuous eave, I appreciate that there's nothing happening on the third floor. If there's one thing that I do like about the north elevation is that it's broken up, so it's not so monolithic. But I guess that's a requirement to deal with that recently discovered issue with the siding and the bounds. I agree with Brooke that when you're looking at the west elevation, that that gable forward and back just feels really top heavy, especially with the scale of what's behind it to the south. I think that's it for now.
Thanks, Angus. Lucy?
What's with the 2 chimneys on the south elevation?
2 chimneys, south elevation. Let me get to the south elevation. Yeah, what is that?
Those are the chimneys on the
Oh.
existing mass.
Yeah, that's they're lower, they're right here. They're on the other building, the other.
Oh,
section.
okay,
They're just in front of you.
right.
So one of those is existing, but the other one is, I guess, an addition.
Is it? Yeah, you're right. There's only one shown here. So Lucy, do you have any thoughts about this? I mean, I had some ideas.
Well, I just, I looked at it from, through the Athenaeum Park today again, and I think it's too tall.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, so, you know, I'm, I think I'm going more on Angus's side of this than Brooks. To me, the west or the north, I guess. You know, the good thing about the approved elevation is that it's pretty simple. And then when you, and this really, to me, complicates it in a place where I think on this side street on India or Cambridge or no, India, it's just doesn't fit in. It should be much simpler building. It's opposite the park. It's too much height, too much attention. Anyway, so here's my comments. The simplicity of the previous approval is what made a second floor approvable in this location. This proposal detracts from that simplicity and completely changes the character. The third floor dormers add to the volume and height of the street facade. The west facing cross gable runs corner to corner, creating an unusual roof configuration. These changes are not appropriate and the original should remain. There are other ways to solve the encroachment. The simplest solution would be to make the building slightly narrower without changing the appearance. We'd like to see revisions. So, you know, they really, all he really has to do is shave 8 inches off the building, the existing
Well,
proposal.
That simplifies things.
Yeah, so it's not like he has to reinvent the wheel because of that encroachment. To me, it looks like he's just using it as an excuse to try to get more third floor program, which they had eliminated before. So I'd like to try to get some consensus here because we had a differing opinion about the north elevation.
Yeah, I'll bend back. That's no problem.
Okay,
I'll go for it too, but I do have one other question.
sure, go ahead.
Okay, on the application, it says sashes Essex green. And for the addition, second and third floors, white for all others. And then doesn't give a color for the shutters.
Yeah, are there, I'm not sure there are shutters on the other approval. I don't know.
Hey, Mickey, would you please go to the next slide, which shows it in a SketchUp?
The north elevation has shutters on the second and third floors.
It does in this application, you're right. So that's why he's commenting on them, but yeah,
So we need to know the color of the shutters.
yeah, what was that issue? You didn't fill that in, okay. Hopefully they don't have shutters, but they are applying for them.
See?
Yeah, okay. Clapboard, Clapboard? Are we going back to Clapboard?
Where?
Well, it says Clapboard white. White Clapboard?
On the first floor.
We gotta see that again. Where's that? Oh.
Maybe that's just referring to the paneling.
No, it's right here in the
There.
best.
Definitely not like,
Whoops. Yeah, that's an issue. What was it before? I guess there was Clapboard there before.
So you'll have white clapboard there with green sashes. And then on the second floor and third floor, it will be white sashes. And we don't know the color of the shutters.
Okay. I'll make a note of it. So we don't really like white clapboard. In fact, I don't really like clapboard at all.
And I don't think the white shutters is appropriate for downtown in the core.
Is that what he's asking for? White? No, he's
Well,
not asking.
We don't know what the shutters are, color of the shutters are going to be. But I mean, white shutters, they have that down Easton Street, Lincoln Circle, you know, that kind of place. But downtown, it's.
Yeah, I'd say no. Or if they're gonna get shutters, they should be darker. Okay, no white clapboard or shutters. Any other additions to what I had added, had said?
Well, do we know where the AC units are?
No, but they'll have to apply for those,
Hopefully.
hopefully.
actually, it's on Cambridge Street. See where that bulkhead is?
I know, well,
That's where it's been forever.
I know, but some of them are pretty nasty on that there.
Right here. So
Well, speaking of which, is that bulkhead, is that natural to weather or is that going to be?
it's probably existing. What do I want? The south elevation? Yeah, so he's showing a fence here, so we can't really see any of it. You want me to make a comment about the AC?
Yeah, I do, because that building, or that location right now, they've got some pretty nasty trash visible. I mean, as far as the AC units and, you know, just,
Mhm. And you might be able to look through on the other side of this fence
yeah.
to get a glimpse of it. Okay, so I'll say to be screened, AC unit to be screened. Okay. All right, should we move on?
Yes.
All right, next on the list is Two Stone Alley. And I know that Ginger is here and probably would like to say something about this. Ginger, do you want to go ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can't really say anything because I haven't been able to view the plans. I don't have Zoom, so I'm on a dial-in. And I couldn't find anything new on the HDC view pack. And I didn't see whatever was up at the last HDC meeting because I'm on a flip phone. So I'm really here just to listen to you guys.
Okay, so just so you know what they've submitted, Ginger, is they've taken the east section I won't be able to fully describe it, but the east section of the building, which it's kind of broken into 3 sections. The first being the existing, the second like a connector, and the third was at the end. They've
Vicky,
dropped
I'm
that.
sorry to interrupt. Ginger, do you mind turning your sound off? The wind is.
Oh, not at all. Oh,
Thanks.
sorry.
Thanks, Angus. So the third section has been dropped to a 1-story section, although it's still sticking pretty far out of the ground because the grade really drops off. So I'm calling that an improvement. I'm not sure if it's enough of an improvement, but it helps. I know what it is, this, and I'll get to this later, is the ridge of the middle section is still coming directly off of the main ridge. At the same height as the main ridge. To me, that's a little too much. Somebody want to say anything about this?
I'm happy to
Lucy?
start.
Yeah, Angus, go ahead.
So, yeah, I mean, it's encouraging to see some of this dropping down as it moves, east and down the hill. But I think that the middle section that you were just referring to really does need to drop appreciably 3-4 feet to read more as a half story lower in just kind of a typical telescoping additive massing way, especially since we've got that drop in grade. So for me, it's still about massing. I wouldn't get too much into the fenestration and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. And I hear what you're saying about 1 step at a time, but sometimes the HDC doesn't always go on steps. So we probably need to be thorough, and just in case they decide this works for them.
Mickey,
You
can
want-
you zoom in on the elevations because it's hard to see what the windows are.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so here's the east. This 4 gang to me is troublesome, but in this, that being the northwest, there's not much change there. Here's the south.
I had a problem with the fenestration between the middle section and the right-hand side, the 8/1s.
8/1s. They're doing that, and I see the original, whatever this was, glass porch had these windows. This is actually sort of a pretty strong mimicking of the original one, which was over here. I think you can see that right there. That's the
Right.
That's the original. It was in a different place.
But the ones to the right are not the same proportion. And that bothers me.
Oh, you're right. That's a good point. Yep.
And it's, you've got the French doors there. You've got the other 6/6s. I mean, I'd like to see, if you're going to do the 8/1s, I'd like to see some sort of consistency.
Yep. I totally agree.
And my other comment is that skirt below. What's the treatment on that?
Yeah, that's a deck skirt on this view. It's brick around the foundation and facing south. That's a pretty narrow deck.
Painted or natural to weather?
Yeah, deck skirt, natural weather.
And that meter box
Where's that? Oh,
right
here.
there to the left of the door.
Yeah. Conceal meter. They should be able to put that, at least the conduit inside.
Yeah, terrible.
Okay. Anybody else?
That piece that they're mimicking, but removing, I'd much rather see that somehow stay in place and be incorporated in the new plan. It's kind of funky too to have the little windows below the larger windows. What's existing? What's there now?
You know, the existing, as I looked at the floor plan, it was a, yeah, this is it. So existing was, it was the only open living space in the room. It had, I guess this was probably a porch of some sort, but this I think is the fireplace, because here it is projecting outside the building. I'm assuming that somehow this was a, I don't really know what that was, but it's attached to the chimney. And now proposing they're just sort of like closets and powder rooms. That's why they're 1, 2, 3 windows. I think those windows could be bigger. And there's no reason they can't be.
I mean, you certainly don't want to take out a window just to make it more balanced. But if it is being taken out or the walls are changing,
Mhm.
I think it would be more balanced and typical to have the larger windows below.
You can see they're keeping this one presumably, and they're just copying it to the right,
Mhm.
which they don't have to do. These could be different windows below. There's not much consistency to this building to begin with, the existing format.
Are they doing that because of the neighbors?
I doubt it. I mean, here it is. Here's the front of the building. Here's a small window.
Yeah, no, I'm
And
talking about the 3
double
here.
lines next to it. So they could do something similar to that on the other side. Where did it go? Up here. So yeah, I think that's, so your first suggestion, Angus, was to move the porch back over to that location, which, as you can see from the floor plan, they're going to be very reluctant to do. But at least try to go with double hung windows in its stead where it was.
Yeah, and the main thing is just dropping that middle section.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So who hasn't said anything? Brooke, did you say anything?
I
Go ahead.
haven't, no. Yeah, I agree with what's been said. I definitely appreciate the change to the massing. The faux chimney just kind of irks me a little bit. But you know, I don't know what the HTC will say about that. I agree with Angus that it would be nice to try and maintain that porch mass and incorporate it into the new massing somehow. And I definitely agree with Lucy about the windows in their proportions not aligning with the other ones.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's a definite.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of obvious. But otherwise, nothing further to add.
All right, so what I just have is not a lot actually, but changing the back wing to 1 story is a positive step. However, the new east facing gable, and I'm just referring to it as this east facing gable here. The new east facing gable should step down significantly from the main ridge. The 4 ganged east facing windows should be separated at least into 2 pairs. And I'll comment about the pane proportions. And the existing grade line should be shown to better understand how this fits into the bank. So they're showing, this is proposed grade, obviously. Right here is existing grade. And it starts to slope off right about here. So this is a big chunk of fill right here. And we don't even know if it's probably being filled way down here also. And I looked at the contours of the site plan. I think these are the proposed contours.
I don't think so.
You think these are existing?
That's existing because otherwise it would be a lot flatter. It would be on the, whatever that is, the 42. All the way, right. Slide
42.
your cursor to the right. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Stop. Up, go back. More. Right there. So that should show like a flat area based on what we're seeing with the elevations. And that the lines look like they should be tighter
Mhm.
next to the one-story structure. Plus, there's no the decks aren't shown.
Hmm.
You know, off of the
You're right.
off of one-story area.
Yeah, that should be over here somewhere.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I can't put both on the screen at the same time. So look at this. This is, you're right, this slopes pretty steeply in the middle.
Yeah,
And
which
then-
it doesn't do in reality, in
Okay,
the way it's
so-
proposed.
Less so down there. Yeah.
No contour.
Yeah, right. Pretty flat. So you're right, Brooke. Those are existing.
So can you zoom in? So that we can read the numbers? Great. So I think that they probably wanted at the 39 contour.
And they pulled this
But
one out.
moved, yeah, but coming off of that one-story structure,
Yep.
about halfway between, halfway down the mass.
They pulled all these contour lines. They've
Yeah,
just
to the-
dragged them over to the right.
Yeah,
Basically.
yeah,
So it's gonna get really steep over here.
right. So, yeah, so the contour lines don't match up with what's shown in the elevation.
Right, so they're existing. All right, so they should fix that, at least show what's proposed and existing. I'd like to see,
And Steve Welch usually picks up on that too, if he's on this.
yeah,
But I think if you mention it, he'll
Yeah.
definitely,
yeah. I mean, it should definitely show the existing grade, which will drop down here. It's a 9-foot change from, on the existing contours. And this is 9 feet. This dimension says 9 feet 4. So it's from the first floor to the basement level is a little over 9 feet. So they're not even showing the full change from here to there in grade. There's obviously filling in this area. All right, so I'll try to get them to focus on the on the contours, existing versus proposed grade, because that's, I'm sure that especially for the neighbors, that's a critical concern, is what they're doing to the contours and the grading here. It's really changing. Hard to say on this side though. All right, any other comments on this one?
nothing further.
Okay, moving on. All right, I gotta switch quick sharing. So now we're moving over to 32 Holbert. I think Lisa's here.
Here,
Yes,
doesn't seem like anybody shows up for these anymore.
I know, you're one of the few.
Well, hopefully you'll be nice to me then.
We'll try. Where are you?
I wasn't here the last time. I didn't realize you guys were here, and because without Kadeem there, they don't let people know when you guys are meeting, so
I know, I wish they would.
I know, that makes a big difference. So today I actually checked, so anyway.
I'm looking for the right screen to share here. That's,
That's not it.
excuse me, one sec. Get rid of this. It's crowding my screen. It's not it. Steph. All right, it's up here somewhere.
Vicky, if you want, I can share my screen.
Well, oh, you know why it's not here? Hang on a second. I've got.
You can share mine too.
Yeah, I'd like to try to get control of this so I can continue doing it throughout. This will help. I think I'm right there. All
Okay, no problem.
right, share screen. Should be right here. Okay, that looks correct, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. That looks like it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I wasn't here the last time, and I know that some of the comments were that you were not in favor of the window, the simplification of the windows to the 2/2s. The board tended to like, the HCC tended to like that change. And we had taken out a couple feet in length on the building. The major change this time is that we actually went to a single-story mass along part of,
Down here, yeah.
Willard Street. After looking at options in terms of how this house is designed, we felt like the second floor made a lot of sense, the way that the house was designed, and that rather than trying to, redesign the house, it made the most sense to just try to minimize the massing along Willard Street.
Mhm.
And, we did reduce the glazing quite a bit from the previous approval, which you're not seeing. Unfortunately, you don't have the original up there anymore, and as well as the changing of the windows to the 2/2s makes the building so much simpler. The other thing that we did change, which isn't reflected in here, is we made the front door a solid door, more traditional. And we actually added some more shingle style details to the building to give it a little bit more of a shingle style look. And I'm happy to pull those up if you guys want to see those changes.
What would those changes be, Lisa? I don't.
It's sort of a corbel out at the steeper part of the gambrel on both sides on the front. Trying to think, and railing details, slightly more decorative railings kind of in the middle of each of these on the second floor and the bottom right of the balusters.
Are these not the latest drawings?
I don't think they
Well,
are.
no, what happens, because it takes about 6 weeks to get heard now, what generally happens is we put something in, and then, there's inevitably changes between the time that this got submitted and now. And so I'm happy to pull up the other drawings just so you can look at them and email them to you.
Can you just share your screen?
Yeah, if
Okay.
you allow me to, I can.
Yeah, I thought that we had the latest, so we apparently don't.
Yeah, sorry, it's an ever-changing process, as I'm sure you understand, and
Oh, yeah.
because of the time differential now that happens, there's lots of massaging that happens prior to, let's see, I think this is it. Yeah, this should be it. So this does show the original, where, between the original and the next submission that you guys already saw, we did lower these gambrels quite a bit. We had taken some width out and changed the window types. We disconnected the decks. And then this was the option of adding just a little bit more shingle style detail to the building to give some more depth to it and some more interest to it, and changing the front door to a more traditional front door.
Can you describe, I think I know what's going on there, that kind of is almost like dental molding across the top of that, is that? sort of-
Yeah, I'm wondering if I have any pictures of another building that we've done that has that. I'm trying to think. We did one up on Sherburne Turnpike, where this gambrel end comes forward just a little bit, and then there are just some brackets that support it. I don't know.
Yeah, those are
though.
like 6x8s with like a scroll of some sort, right?
Yeah, maybe not 6. So that might be a little wider, probably more like 4.5,
Like
maybe
5.
5.
Like 5x7
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, and it's not that deep. I would say it's probably 7-8 inches.
Yeah.
Deep, but just what Abby Camp suggested, trying to add a little bit more detail to it to give it a little bit more life.
Is it-
So that was.
How about the railing safety issue? Don't you have some big holes in that railing?
Well, what ends up happening, I mean, this is just a concept, but you could do more of a Chippendale railing, like the building that's on the corner by not the polo fields, the big park at the end of Holbert, the new one. They have sort of a more Chippendale Chippendale style railing.
Okay.
Here, I mean, what we've done in the past where we've had issues is, you know, you do put plexiglass behind. It's not perceivable, but you know, we could work on the railing detail to make sure it met code.
Right.
But it was just the concept of having something more interesting on the front rather than just the continuous spindles to break
Okay, so
that up.
I see the door has changed. Is that glass in the top or is that all solid panel?
No, it's all solid.
Okay,
But we didn't want to do a typical 6-panel, again, because of the trying to stylistically set this house up for something a little bit different. We thought it would be nice to do a more interesting door panel.
mhm.
And then I think the other changes, the other elevations, we didn't add that detail to this side. We really kept that detail to the front and then to the main
Yeah.
gambrel that faces into the property.
Yeah.
And then this door would, although I don't know that this door is going to really be visible from anywhere, this door could also be solid. So really the main changes from what you're seeing are the additional details. The massing is the same.
Okay.
I can stop sharing if you want me to,
No,
or.
leave that up. That's good, because I don't have that. That's kind of.
Okay, I'm happy to email it to you too, Mickey.
Yeah, don't bother. I mean, by the time we're done, I won't want it anymore. So, you guys want to comment, Brooke?
Sure. I like the changes. I actually like the front door. I think it does help distinguish this building. And I think that actually the back door on the south elevation should stay glass just because it's kind of an informal entry. I like the corbelling. I think that's very helpful. I appreciate the 1-story mass. That always helps kind of take some of the presence of a building off the street. You know, I'm still like in the big picture, it still is a pretty wide building, and it still looks like it's a little bit close to Hulbert Avenue compared to some of the other buildings. If you don't mind, would you go to the site plan?
Yeah, and I think it is, and I want to just keep in mind that, you know, if he did what he could do to this property, you'd have 4 lots here,
Mhm.
which means that you would not have, I mean, you would have a building up close to Hulbert Avenue, just by the nature of the fact that you'd have 4 separate buildings here. So
Mhm.
I do understand the concern with that, but he is hoping to keep this to 1 large lot and then 2 smaller lots in the back that aren't slated for any development anytime soon. Is for future expansion of his family.
Yeah.
Well, you know, since we're looking at the site plan, let's all weigh in on this one, because my feeling is aligned with Brooke. I think the building definitely, in my opinion, the building, and you can see it on your locus, it should just come back to because it's way in front of the one, the 32B.
And
So,
34 and 36.
yeah, so. you
But
know,
it's about the same point as this one, you know, and then you look at this, which is now no longer there, but there are examples of other houses, you know, that have been built closer to Hulbert. It really has to do with lot size.
Well, you're right, and you don't have, I think those are just different buildings. Your building is pretty tall. It's gable forward, right vertical line on the road. I think the massiveness fit right on the street to me is a concern.
Yeah.
And I think there's room, if you go over, slide it over to your proposed site plan, you could slide the building back.
Yeah, what would happen though is I think ideally this garage would not be here. And then, you know, and maybe it would be more in this zone. And then that would become impossible unless it got joined to the building, which I can't
Well,
imagine would be a positive.
Well, you can certainly run the garage or the driveway deeper into the garage.
Yeah, I think the hope is just to, you know, end up with more of a recreational yard back here. You know, so that if you were to put a garage, you'd want to put it kind of maybe more there. And then you're just getting awfully close. And because he's trying to keep these lots open. He can't put a garage on he can't temporarily build a garage on this lot because of the zoning.
Well, I hear what you're saying, Lisa, and I think that's all makes sense for the client and what your concerns are, but there's nothing there right now. And so you're kind of creating your own problems. And I think this stage is the time to anticipate those and redesign it so that you can slide the building back. And I don't think it would take a big redesign,
Yeah,
but I think the
or any at
proximity
all.
is- Yeah, right, or any at all. So to me, it's still too close to the street, especially for the height.
I
And we're
agree.
obliged to register our concerns.
Yeah, I agree
That's right.
that it's too close to Holbert, especially for the size and the height. I agree with you on that. But before the last time we recommended that the south wing be moved to the other side of the building.
Yeah, we looked at that.
And
We
then
did
when
look
you
at,
look at the garage, be more on Willard's.
yeah, I did look at that with the client. I mean, the negative impact for him from the client's perspective is, well, probably he would keep it 2 stories then, actually, without a doubt. It would be retain 2 stories. And because of the layout, we would just prefer to keep the larger gambrel on this side. And the master bedroom, which is now here, then to get to these other 2 bedrooms, it becomes a problem. So you'd have to literally flip and put the living space on this side, which obviously is less desirable because this is actually the part that sees the view because of this open area between these 2 structures that's protected. So we did investigate that.
Well, again, you're coming up with great reasons why it doesn't serve the owner's needs, but it doesn't help our concern about the proximity to the street.
Yeah.
And I
It's
think
just
the
interesting
HGC
because
was,
if I came back with a lot size, with a house where there was a property, well, maybe, who knows what you would say, but if there was a lot line back here, oops, like along there, and he had nothing, he just couldn't be any further back from the road. But
he doesn't want that either.
I don't know. There's some idea of just getting as close to the view as you possibly can.
Well, I'm sure of that.
If I
Okay,
were the
well, I
client, I
understand
would
your,
want the same thing.
I hear your concerns about that.
It's not just our concern, it was at the board, and Diane mentioned it, and I think other
Yeah,
board
yeah.
members. So I think it's a pretty universal concern. So we're just
But we like the
restating.
architecture.
Yeah, I think it's a nice building. Let's move over back to the building elevation.
Okay.
Lucy, do you have any comments about the building?
No,
I'm assuming it's the front, the
Colbert, yeah.
north facing that you guys will have the most comments on.
Angus?
I agree with what's been said. I like the idea of somehow mitigating the height of the peaks, the gambrels, by bringing over that detail. It's hard to really see that. It'd be nice to see kind of a perspective of that. So that's not going to help us in this meeting, but Lisa, maybe at the HTC that would be helpful for them.
You mean just an example of what that actually looks like 3-dimensionally?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could get a photo of a house we did that has it.
Yeah, because it's like what happens to the rakes that come down to where that horizontal, soffit is.
I don't know if I have, I'm gonna just check to see if I have any dead files of it. Probably not. It would only be in construction.
I do like the, doing something more interesting with the railing than just the balusters.
Mhm.
And the comments that have been made about the doors, I agree with.
I don't-
oh, excuse me.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Keeping the glass door and doing the different panels on the front. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's really hard to sort of picture what's going on there, but with the gables. But in general, I think the changes are good. I would say my main concern really is, the imposition of it being so close to Holbert, just with the scale and height. Those are large lots, and it can accommodate large houses, but to have a really large house and then cut the lot in quarters or thirds and push it all forward is, I think, compromises the streetscape.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So anything else, Angus?
That's all.
Yeah, my concerns are basically, as we discussed, I do feel that it's a really broad, wide building, wider than most that you're gonna see, and I'd like to see it a little shorter, narrower, whatever you want to call it, left to right across Holbert, because I know you've reduced it a little bit, but it's still nearly the lot, covers nearly the lot. The railing detail, I think, is interesting and probably just needs some work. It looks kind of complicated. So maybe just the simplified X, and maybe that's what you're referring to in the Chippendale. I'm not really sure what that is. And oh yeah, Lisa, could you flip it around to the south elevation?
Yeah.
There you go. That skinny little gambrel gable facing on the left, that seems just sort of awkwardly skinny. I could almost just widen it to the other wall or something.
Yeah, I think we probably could.
Yeah,
Maybe just shift it. I'd have to look at how the stair works, but
it just seems a little bit too skinny.
mhm.
There you go. And I think, oh yeah, the chimney, we mentioned this on the previous one, the chimney exiting through that shed dormer is, to me, still an awkward thing. And I know your living room is there, but it just seems like it should be in the central mass, not coming through the side of or the roof of a shed dormer. The only solution I had for you was to flip the living room and the kitchen, but I doubt you want to do that.
Well, I mean, there is something, it could actually occur in here.
Yeah,
And
that's
that might be
what I was-
something that as we develop the interior, it might end up being a nice way to separate the rooms. We just haven't, decided that as yet.
I think that would be a huge improvement in just the sort of the traditional expectations of a building, to see the chimney coming through that ridge, that area,
How about if we add another chimney?
and leave the other one.
Mhm.
Well, you're halfway there.
You can always have two chimneys coming exiting a building.
You could. It's still, the other one is kind of problematic. I don't know. Just saying, part of our
Okay.
comments. And I think that was it for me. I think generally it's a nice looking building. Just too close, and a couple other minor tweaks. Anything else from anybody?
Yeah, are all the railings going to be painted white, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay. And the skirt on the roof walk too?
I don't know. I mean, that one's, I think, a little bit, I would say, more negotiable if you guys felt strongly that it should blend with the roof.
And what about the roof skirt boards around the foundation?
They're gray, painted gray.
Good.
I believe.
Is that what our application says? We generally do paint them gray
Yeah,
or leave them natural, just because they take such a beating out there, and they usually have planting in front of them anyway.
would you consider having the skirt and of the roof walk and the skirt of the house the same?
Yeah, I'd take that over the location of the building. If we're making a deal.
Hey, how about, the skirt is sort of long and sort of continuous. Could you panelize it a little bit or break it up with some, brick pilasters or something instead of the long,
Yeah, I mean, I think we could do that. I guess I'm just looking around. It feels like most of the houses down there do have this continuous skirt.
I think they do. I just not so sure that's a traditional, most of them were on brick, the really old ones were on brick piers. And a lot of
Right.
those were exposed.
Right. Again, I'm open to suggestions if I can keep my location.
Well, that's
To a certain point.
it's a stretch, but
I'll
right.
note that as an idea, though. I know what you mean. I mean, I was thinking about whether or not we should just raise this one and keep it all continuous. But rather than break it up by dropping this one lower. Or,
I probably keep it the same. I've never really liked when people lower shingle lines just to cover more foundation because it changes the relationship of the windows to the floor and
the proportion.
the proportions.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, that probably would be.
So
even
you're
though
in
it's-
favor of just continuing that straight line?
I think so. I know it's a little more monotonous, but I think that's what you'd expect. That's where it
Yeah,
kind of belongs.
right. Okay. Well, I can certainly make some adjustments.
All right.
I mean, I've been thinking about that and I hadn't done anything about it. So I was just taking the opportunity to pick your brain about what you thought. If you don't mind.
Sure, not at all. All right, anybody else have anything else here?
No,
I think we're good to move on.
And I think I
Thanks.
have one more, so I'll just hang out until you're ready.
Okay, thanks. Oh, yeah, you do. And that is next. No, it's not. It's not next. Let's jump down and do it next. Get Lisa through us. 32 Jefferson.
Yeah, no, I think one thing that I just wanted to let you know, let me stop my share. Actually, I think I'm still sharing. There we go. Is that you guys, what we ended up taking to the HGC was a little bit different than what you guys saw, because you guys brought up in the last meeting minutes about the relationship of the windows to the eave. And we realized that there was actually an error in what we had submitted. So what the HGC ended up looking at was slightly different. So when you pull up these drawings, you're going to see the previously submitted drawings had that issue
Right.
resolved.
Let me pull up what I have as the latest drawings, or what was on the view file, and tell me if these have been revised since then.
No, probably not.
Okay.
Oh, no, they have not. But what I was going to say was, I think the first set of drawings you saw, this existing or the dimension between the windows and the eave line were slightly different than what you're now looking at, because you made a specific comment about there being too much shingle above those windows, and we realized that there was an error.
Okay. Well, that's a positive. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the relationship of the window head casing to the fascia should not change. And I have a feeling that we had shown it differently.
I think you did. I think there
Yeah,
was.
so we updated that on the drawings so that that's no longer an issue, and the HGC saw it revised.
Okay. Good. Okay. Anybody thoughts here?
so are we looking at up-to-date drawings?
Yes, those are up to date.
Right.
I mean, I can just tell you that from the HGC's perspective, the major concerns were, let me try to remember. It was to reduce the scale of the third floor dormers. They liked, those were the major issues, that and the location of the front stairs, and generally it was well received. I think there was a comment about there being a center chimney mass, as opposed to where we showed it previously, which was off to the side. So in this iteration, we've, no, actually, we've added both. We still have both, but in this iteration, we've reduced the third floor dormers. What else have we done? We changed the fenestration on the second floor so that the doors read a little bit more like the windows. We kept the front, we moved the stairs back to the middle, but turned them into a friendship stair.
Mhm.
I think that was it, and adding that center chimney.
Okay. Brooke, did you want to make a comment?
I'm not yet.
All right.
I do have some thoughts, but they're percolating.
Lucy or Angus?
Should that central chimney be taller?
Probably a little bit.
Or narrower.
Something, it looks squatty.
It looks a little
Does-
fat. I'm
it
not
does
quite sure
kinda.
why it's so fat, but I don't disagree with you.
Okay. Anything else, Lucy?
I'm looking, I may get back to you.
Angus?
I am just looking at the elevations that are in front of us. And what sticks out the most really, I think these are good improvements, but the dormer feels too bulky. Like the eave is too high and therefore hitting the too close to the ridge, and the pitch is too shallow. Looking at it in profile, it feels too boxy for that roof plane. Be great to see that get reduced somehow.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I share those concerns. I only had a couple issues with this latest iteration. I really like the fact that the stairs are back, the exterior stairs are back at the front door. So that's good. These dormers, I was just going to suggest, Lisa, that if you just notch down the windows to that one step down in height, that it would drop the plate of the dormer and the roof considerably. I think it's not unusual to have your third floor dormer windows to be smaller than the other windows throughout the house. And these look like they're the same size, at least to the second floor. So if you could shorten those, it'll shorten the dormer. I think that would be an improvement. I think that's kind of alludes to what Angus was talking about.
Mhm. Okay,
And the front door, again, we have this issue with, I personally, I don't think that's a normal front door. It's more like a, French door or side door. So I'd rather see the front door become more formal looking. It's okay to have some glass in it, I think, but just not quite the full glass with full glass side lights. And those were my only concerns. Anybody else have any comments?
I agree with you about the side lights on the front door. I mean, they're actually very wide too.
It's hard to see with the columns there, but Lisa, are those 3 panels that are?
is it
basically
3
the
panel?
same
Yeah,
size?
it's 3 panels. I think because the house is so far back, I mean, it's set so far back, you're looking at this as there's a building in front of it. I don't know if I have photos from the last submission. But if you look at the site plan, just the visibility of this building kind of back behind that other building is sort of, the front door seems less critical because you're viewing from back here, kind of down this corridor to that door. I think across the porch.
I hear what you're saying, but at nighttime, that's going to be brilliantly illuminated. You'll see the type of door that it is very clearly at night, even from Jefferson. So I still have that concern.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yes.
Brooke?
So I agree with what's been said. And to Lucy's point, if on the north elevation, there is a chimney size that looks like it should be the same chimney that was used, could be used in the other, on the other elevations. I also am wondering, same thought that you had about lights being on in the house. Perhaps part of the front deck could be shingled, as at least in front of the doors
On the second floor.
on the second floor. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually was wondering about that too, Brooke. So maybe the corners shingled and then the open
Yeah.
in the center or something.
I mean, I know it kind of brings the style up to a different level, and we're sort of walking a fine line, but just from the point of view of trying to conceal those doors on the second floor,
Mhm.
I think having a shingled rail is probably the only way to do that. And then in the middle, it's open.
Okay.
I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, me too.
And did Johnny not say anything about the meeting rails?
He did not. I think he did about one of them, but I think we fixed it because again, the windows on the right side are much smaller. It was on the right side dormer,
Yeah.
and we've reduced the size of that window quite a bit.
I-
He was
that-
actually,
That doesn't bother me that much. I just, I'm surprised that it got through without.
well, it got
Johnny.
better. It got better. This is a better than what they looked at. If you look at the original, the last submission, the
Mhm.
windows were larger.
Here.
Yeah, I think so. I think the windows were bigger
Yeah.
on the far right. I think it's better. I think we changed
Yeah,
that.
they were bigger windows, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think so.
All right.
Okay.
I guess that's it. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Have a great afternoon.
you
too.
too. See ya. All right, next we'll go back to, so 6 Lincoln on the agenda is in Wisconsin, so we're not gonna do that. And,
Oh. Right.
yeah.
That's funny. We didn't look at it.
Well, maybe we could.
It's on our agenda.
It's on our
Is it an old-
agenda.
Is it an old building?
1938, according to the HTC minutes.
Yeah. Well, let's come back to it if we feel like it.
Okay.
So we're gonna move down to 10 Union. Pull this up. All right. So I don't know if this is the latest, because looks like everything we just saw. Didn't we see this?
Seems like it.
I don't know if it is, but on this application, they have the patio, they have field stone with moss in between, which would be a good look. But there is a huge pile of bluestone ready to be installed
Saw that. See if I can.
there. So
I think you sent me a picture. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, I didn't pull it up on the screen. Hang on. Well, anyway, she's right. It's a big pile of bluestone,
big, huge, big pieces.
pallets of it.
Square shaped,
Yeah.
Yep.
so
Rectangle.
not like the organic shape that they're showing.
Nope.
No. I mean, maybe
Maybe
they're
they're
gonna do a
going
lot
to
of cutting.
hand break all those.
What was that, Angus?
Oh, I was suggesting that maybe they're just going to hand break them into the more organic
Right.
Or
emulsion.
cut them.
Okay, I'm going to send the picture to Brooke so he can share it. And also my other comment is, I don't think that the topo info here is correct. They have 3 steps going down from the parking area. Existing now is a sort of a rubble stair thing. and it's a lot more. I just don't think it's accurate. I think that this parking area is going to be built up a lot more. And I don't understand how it's being built. I don't think there's enough information here. Plus the fact that I agree with what a lot of others agree on the HDC is that they already have parking here. So I think that it's unnecessary.
Can you see this picture?
Yep, there we
Yep.
go. Yep,
Yeah, that's a lot of bluestone.
That doesn't look organic.
no,
No.
certainly doesn't.
And your other pictures show. Is that old or is that, have they just put that in?
I think it was kind of there, but you can see from I think I sent you another photograph of fencing stepping down. I mean, this is more than 3 steps.
Was that
Different.
like 6 steps?
Yeah, it was like 6 or 7 steps. Yeah. So I don't think that this
I
is,
think that's there. I think that's been there for a while.
well, it kind of looks like it. It's not disturbed too much. But I mean, that's more than 3 steps.
And that's what their patio should be.
Just looking at, I got the site plan up, which you can't see at the moment, but I'm looking at the contours. I don't see a contour elevation at the street, which would be telling, but it's 8 feet, 9 feet. The street looks like it's at about 10 feet and the yard down at 7 feet. Or maybe
7 to,
6, actually 6 when you get into the yard. So there is a 4-foot drop shown on the site plan with their contour lines. And that's hard to tell from the picture, but it's,
but you can see how the fencing on the neighbors has changed so much there.
yeah. So this is down at probably elevation 6.5, and the street is up at 10.
Yeah.
All right. So put the other.
What happened to the stacked parking idea that
I know, you know,
was originally proposed?
here's their comments at the HDC. Coombs says immediately after, parking should be between the house. She says, don't put it here at all. Val says his location is good because of the big brick parking next door. I don't really get that. It maintains the view of the historic house from Union. Be nice to keep the parking in the back. The patio stone should look organic. Thornwell agrees with Oliver about the location. I guess she means out back. However, thinks front to back parking going with the slope of the hill would be better. Agrees the patio should be more organic. And Welsh says organic. Reasons for about minimizing the presence of parking. And Cole agrees parking close to the house would compromise the view. I'm not sure what he's referring to. They're moving it to the side. I don't know. Like to have photos. So I don't know. I thought there was some consensus of the last one to get it running vertically stacked. I think, you know, I'm still saying this parking space seems to be an issue of convenience rather than necessity. They should leave the lawn in its natural state and park in front of the house off Coffin Street as they always have.
Nikki, I'd also like to point out that the application that we have today, it says patio bluestone,
Okay,
so that they have switched gears here and are starting to go ahead, even though everybody wants it more organic.
yeah, well, they don't have an approval yet.
Yeah,
So they're gonna have to make square bluestone organic looking. It looks like, I mean, everybody's for organic,
right. And that's very visible down there.
definitely.
That's more organic than nature's promise. And then a pile of bluestone in the yard.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and let's not forget outdoor lighting.
Yeah. True. I mean, at least 3 of them mentioned putting it back where it was. So I think there's a foothold there that we can probably work on. You know, they've been parking here forever. I don't see why they can't continue. They just want to have a more convenient spot for some reason. Not sure
But
why
it's not more convenient, Mickey. It's farther from the house.
I know you're right. And it's not like even leaving their parking area would be more convenient. They'd be going right through town. So maybe they just have a lot of cars. That's probably what it is. But it's still not a necessity. They don't need this parking space, in other words. So what do you want to say here?
No,
No to the parking
no to the bluestone.
and no to the bluestone. Anything else we want to say?
Lighting,
No.
lighting plan, lighting plan.
All right. Next.
Well, Mickey, the reason why I'm being persistent on the lighting plan is because if they get this parking area, I can just envision a string of outdoor lights going all the way to the house.
And lights at the parking itself.
Yep.
Definitely at the stair for safety.
Right. Okay, got it. And next is 8 Walsh Street. What's going on there?
These were revisions that were requested by the commission. Ray had a concern about the cross gable. The other commissioners were concerned about the height. So I dropped the height, and if you, well, you can tell that it no longer looks like, it looks as much like a cross gable as it did. I also simplified the garage door area. So that's, now it reads as a centered garage, not offset. 2 fewer, you know, 2 fewer windows. And you know, overall, just a simplification.
Brooke, you know, I had a suggestion.
Mhm.
You know, it's, to me, it still has that sort of cross gable feel. And what's doing that is because the hip drops all the way down to the eave on both roof planes. What if you were to raise the plate of the dormer so that now you've got rafter tails
Gotcha.
in
So-
space?
So here's a question. I actually was thinking about that. If you go to that up to the drawing of the house right there with the garage in the background, and you see those dormers are 6-pitch dormers, and that's and the main mass is an 8-pitch roof. I was thinking about doing something like that, which I haven't had a chance to draw, but I was thinking I might bring that in. Do you think that would be appropriate?
What pitch is this?
These are 8s.
You know, it's hard to get behind a 6-pitch on a gable dormer, but it is existing.
You're right, and that's really the only reason that I would introduce that is because it is an existing feature and it's kind of a defining feature of the main house.
Yeah. I go back to what I just said. I mean, raise the plate a foot. That'll give you the break in the roof plane. It'll no longer feel like cross gables, which to me it still does.
Okay,
And then it's more of a defined dormer.
sure.
But you know, anybody else?
I have to agree with Mickey on that one.
And just for argument's sake, when did cross gables become a bad word.
I
I mean,
know.
like, it's never, like, with certain styles of buildings, cross gables are what the building is about.
I guess, you know, what it does is it tends, if, when there's no, cross gables work when there's depth to the gables that come out from the valleys. But when they're flush to the corner and the valley, comes right down to the corner of the building, I think that's the problem. It's different where your thing is a little different. The one in town on Cambridge Street was a problem to me because that valley came right into the
Right.
corner
So
of
the-
the building,
So my prior submission was
closer to that.
closer to that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
Anybody else? Which is you, Angus, because Lucy stepped aside.
No, I think it's been said.
Okay. All right.
If there was one thing, I would just say that the stepping that you're suggesting is making more sense of those rafter or the eave brackets on either side of the gable window. That, I guess that would make more sense. Otherwise, I would push them out wider.
Which one out wider?
Those brackets, like in the previous submission, see how much further out there they are?
These guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that looks better, but I think that it's a different situation when you pop the elevation and you rise up above the other roof.
Yeah. I just think it's gonna look more like a dormer. And I think
So,
that's this makes.
Here's another question then.
Yeah.
If you scroll up to the main house elevation.
Yeah.
And you go to the south elevation and you look at that band on the main house, Yeah.
Yeah.
that's on the second floor.
Up here.
Yep. Would something like that help? Like maybe let's say if you go over to the north elevation and you continued that fascia or frieze line across. I mean,
it's
again, this
close
is
to
more
the one
about
below.
tying. Yeah, it's more about tying this building to its main house.
My concern there would be because it's up here, it's a full story apart,
Yeah.
it segments the stories. Here
Gotcha.
you're going through the middle of the story and it's pretty close
Yep.
to the
All right.
other.
Well, I understand, and I will see. I will put together something.
Okay. All right, let's move on to Brook number 2.
Book number 2. Can I share on this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hang on. All right. Let's see. I'm not going to take you through all of the photos or anything. But I'll just remind you of what the original building looked like, or I shouldn't say what it looked like, but how it currently appears.
Mhm.
And then let's see, where are the prior drawings? Oh, shit, I didn't include those, or did I? Oh, yes. Okay, so this was my previous submission right here. It was clapboard. It had chimney pots. They had concerns about the dormer and the amount of fenestration in the back. They had concerns about the porch and also, they were concerned about the addition of new windows in areas where there weren't and removal of windows where there were. So, so we are coming back with something like this. Now, the original building had 12/12 windows. And I am just curious what you think about bringing those back for the front and the side.
Can you
And then-
show the photograph of the original?
Yep. And they were true plank frames. These are 6/6 with the weighted balance.
Mhm.
So can you see that photo?
Definitely, yep.
All right.
Are
And
those,
this-
are those louvered shutters?
It's
Okay.
hard to tell. I mean, it's not a great.
It's pretty
photo.
likely they are.
Yeah, okay.
These are louvered.
Yeah.
You can see the shadow lines here. All right, so let me just go back to the proposal. So, walking. All right, so took out the clapboard. Brought the porch in a little bit, changed the door here to just a diamond light door instead of a 4-light door. As you can see, there are shutters and 12/12s. And walking my way around here, using this old opening for a new, and these are going to be true plank frame windows. This isn't like a plank style trim. We're going to get 1/over single hung windows with
Mhm.
planks for that for those particular windows.
Mhm.
And then the rest of these are going to be either restore or replace depending on condition, but not in no new openings are created. And we're going to keep this little 6/6, which is here already. So basically the elevation itself doesn't change in terms of the openings in the wall. And then moving back here.
So Brooke,
Yes.
describe to me the narrative in this elevation. I mean, I guess it's sort of obvious they later on, they kept the 12/12s up front and later on they made some improvements and went to 6/6. Is that?
Yeah, that's the narrative. That's the contrivance. All right.
But so if you're replacing the front with 12/12s, why not complete the picture?
Because it's inordinately expensive.
Okay.
For these true plank frame windows are not cheap. I'm not going to tell you how much they are, but they're not cheap.
And Green Mountain makes them assembled like that?
Yes, they do. All right. So on the back here, I changed the shed dormer. So now it's set in and away from the roof line. It's no longer a flush dormer, so it just reads like a smaller dormer. This is no longer a ganged window. It's separated.
Mhm.
Changed the doors to 12 light with a kick panel. This was an 8/8. That's now a 6/6. This was a double, like a mulled unit. Now it's a single unit. And then this porch again was made smaller, just as a more practical, as opposed to like a slightly more generous porch. It's just something that like a carpenter's porch, I guess we
Mhm.
could call it. And again, no new openings on this elevation. So
Brooke, do you mind going back and showing what the porch looked like before?
from my previous submission,
Yeah,
yep. Yep. So you can see this is where, like, I had originally taken out that window and shifted a window over here,
Mhm.
put that window back, and then this porch went that way.
do you have room to bring it out to the right side of that window 12?
Not really. I mean, it interferes with the driveway as it is, even the existing situation, there's interference.
Let's see the proposed again.
So, here's the proposed.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, got it.
So here's proposed. Here's here's the prior
Yeah.
proposal.
Right. And you couldn't just sneak it over another back on the proposed?
Let me go up to this site plan.
I'm just saying, make the porch just a little bit narrower so you've got some, it's not interfering with the window as much.
Oh, yeah, visually. Well, I could also pull it back too. Yeah, I mean, as it is, oh, actually, this is not correct. It's probably more like this right now.
Yeah.
So you can see that if I pull it that way, it's going to interfere with the
You could-
driveway, but
You can make it
I mean, I
short.
could pull it towards the house a little bit more too.
Yeah,
Let's see, where's. I mean, it's,
mean, 4 inches would make a difference, I think,
yeah,
or 6.
all right.
So,
Zoom out.
yeah, so question about the windows. It looks like many of the ones labeled A and B, maybe others, I did do this thoroughly, are repair / replace.
Mhm.
So what's the criteria there? I mean, it's sort of like,
I would say rot and function, and
are we leaving that up to you?
sure. My client is, you know, she's not unreasonable, and I think she's the one that suggested this 12/12 idea. And I feel like, you know, we're actually trying to create the look of the building as it was, which I think is, you know, that's a pretty, you know, I think it's a pretty big deal.
I
Especially,
really like the 12/12s. I think there's so few of them these days that it's really old feeling. I think I like that a lot.
yeah, and the fact is that it's going to be like a true plank.
Mhm.
So it'll read like a real window, you know, real old window on the street.
My only question is, you have the sashes being black.
Well, they shouldn't be that. I think they're going to be white.
Yeah, for 12/12 to be
Mhm.
black.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if you could make that recommendation that the sash should be white.
And what about the shutters? No color indicated.
Yeah, I don't know what those are going to be, but they're right now they're paneled shutters and not louvered. So I don't know if that makes a difference.
It does. I think they should be louvered. I think they were louvered
Yeah.
for ventilation. I think that was the reason they had,
Yeah.
you know, they had them that way. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're
louvered.
really dark in the old photo. I think it would make sense for them to stay dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as the windows on the front, I love the idea of it going back to what it was. I hate to lose any of the old windows though, and on the side, if it's ends up saving money and saving an old window to retain the replacements weighted 6/6s on the side, then the
Mhm.
focus really could just be on the, you know, the front of the house for the 12/12s. The side porch, I think, has gotten so so short that I think it makes sense to run the roof the other way so that the eave faces the street rather
Gotcha.
than the side.
Yeah, good one.
That the dormer, it's one of my pet peeves is when dormers want to be flush, but they aren't. And so they're quasi, you know, just set back from the eave. I
Mhm.
would rather see it go back or forward, but it kills me when they're that close and not going the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer a flush dormer for obvious reasons. This was just a response to an HDC concern.
Yeah, I hear you.
I think that there's room on the second floor to step it back another 6 inches, for what it's worth.
Mhm.
It would be twice as much as what it is. I think that would be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Good.
Otherwise, I think it's looking great.
All right.
What's the age of this house again?
I think it was 17, late 17s, early 18s. Hang on. Let me, I may have even put it on the application, Lucy.
No,
It didn't? No date given. There it is. That's the date. No date given.
no, okay.
So, we still have this issue of the roof look, right?
Yes, there is a concern one way or the other, and I think that's just a debate that you guys can have and the HDC can have.
Yeah. I think we have
You
to
know,
stick
like,
to our
so
policies.
if I can just take the one more little step here. If you look up and down Union Street, there are roof walks on pretty much every building or every other building. I have a hard time believing that every single one of those people had to prove that there was a roof walk on their building. There's just no way that was not, that was the same standard applied.
I
to those
agree, but
structures.
it doesn't, I'm not one that follows precedent too much. Because
Mhm.
why continue the wrong policy? So
Be the only one.
maybe, and maybe that's a reason not to have a roof walk. So
Yeah.
it'll be, I don't know. But we've said it many times. If there isn't a roof walk shown, proven, that
Mhm.
it shouldn't be put on there. So I think we have to be consistent there.
Okay.
I'd like it without the roof walk. I mean, this is about the size of my house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had. Anybody else?
No?
All right, T. Brook number 3.
Let's see. And this is
North Mill.
North Mill. All right, so HDC, let me see what they said. The shape of this garage is appropriately barn-like. I know you guys can read. Okay, Coombs shouldn't be duplicating structures in subdivision. As a barn, the fenestration should be less formal, which was based on HSAB comments. So what I did, because we didn't really want to change the building too much, is if you are familiar with this building, which I know you all are.
Where is
This
that?
is Eugeni's.
That's James. Okay.
Yep, and behind here are some very, very large plate glass doors, but
That's right.
it still looks awesome. And so what I did is that in the prior version, there was a let's see, the gable faced the street.
Mhm.
And in this version, I have the eave line facing the street, much like 11 Liberty Street.
Mhm.
And you can see that the windows are not quite as patterned as they were in the prior version. There was concern about this ramp, which obviously goes away just by virtue of the fact that this is just a new shape on the lot.
Mhm.
This building is definitely not tall, at least on the street elevation relative to the main approved house. And and the rear eave, yes, I'm sure you're probably gonna mention the salt box component. But that was done because on that side, that's the side that overlooks Angola, and even though it kind of looks looks into the back of the house, I think it helps make that side feel a little bit less less overwhelming. So those are the changes.
I like the reorientation. I like the simple, sort of the making it sort of the funkier barn appearance.
Mhm.
I guess my only concern might be the salt box. It's sort of an in-between
Mhm.
random, whereas you just don't see that shape too often, if ever.
Okay,
So
well, I mean, I could make it a gable.
that might be where I want to go with this, is just to keep it simple. I think if they were to have really built this back then, they'd keep it simple and build the gable.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
What I like is that it responds to the drop in elevation. And so it's a lower eave where there's a lower elevation. And
Yeah.
also everything is so freaking perfect these days, everything lines up. I like that this is kind of random. There's a window up there and a window over there. And,
Mhm.
there isn't all the symmetry and all that. So it especially, out in this, what was a more rural setting, I don't know. It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
What's
Lucy, any
behind-
thoughts about that?
Yeah, what's behind the barn door?
An actual opening,
Okay, but it's not huge plate glass window or,
a car.
okay, all right.
Oh, no.
No, I'm just remembering that house on India Street that
Oh,
had
yeah,
that
yeah,
picture window.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it looks good.
great.
Yeah, I'll drop my comment about the salt box. I think I could go either way on that.
I think it helps keep the height down, and
It does.
Sort of adds to the quirkiness.
Yeah,
all right,
okay. Next.
let's see. So the argument, you guys are all familiar with this, and basically,
Which one is this?
Garden shed.
garden shed. This was the garden shed
Okay, same one,
with the
yep.
outswinging nano door.
Mhm.
And now it's going to be A, in swinging, and B, not have a ton of glass in it. It'll be more of a panelized door with high
Mhm.
eights. And again, barely visible. And this building itself, again, it's 11 feet 8 inches tall. It's a tiny building.
Mhm.
So
Is there a reason for the high eights?
well, just to bring some light in there. I mean, it's probably going to be a hangout place.
I mean, could it go lower and become 6 lights?
Oh,
I
you
don't
mean
know. I'm just
narrower?
feeling like the glass is kind of pinched up to the top, and I was wondering if you were saying high eights because you were trying to keep them up high.
Oh, no, I was just saying that as a way of describing the doors.
Yeah.
But I think, let's see, what do I have for the height? Yeah, I mean, I could bring this door down probably 8 inches and create a shingle strip above it.
No, I mean, I like the size of the door. I'm just saying the glass looks kind of pinched. Leave everything, just bring the glass down maybe to the bottom of the rail. Or
Like,
something.
hang on a second. Bottom of the rail. Like this?
from where the glass starts at the top to the bottom of the cross rail or the lock rail.
Just slide it up,
Up.
all the way. all the
Up,
way.
up, all the way, all the way. There you go. And
Oh,
bring the bottom down.
Right.
Bring the bottom down.
And
Oh,
do-
oh, like this,
yeah, but to the bottom rail. Yeah.
bottom rail. Oh, the bottom of
There.
the bottom rail. So the panel would be,
Yeah. Yeah. Is that just me? It just seems like the glass is kind of pinched up at the top.
And I didn't focus on it very much. It didn't bother me. I kind of like the smaller panes. But
Yeah.
either way.
I could go either way. I was trying to make it so that the glass matched.
Yeah,
I like the matching the pane size, but what happens when you bring up dividing that in half, that glass and making it, 2 lights high?
pretty tall.
What happens to the division side to side? Does it look like a good proportion when it gets divided into 3 instead of 4?
I think it makes it look pretty fat, but hang on.
I was just thinking, going along the lines of the other windows that are 6/6, if these were 6.
Right. So something like that, you mean?
Yeah, is that too chunky?
Hang on, let me shut the back out here.
I'm fine with either one.
Yeah, I don't have a really big concern either way in this one.
Whatever works.
So
Alright.
my concern with this one was that the HTC's concerns when they were looking at this were that oops, I just lost it. That if it were visible, they didn't like the ganged doors. They didn't like the combination of French doors in that location. So I just said that previous HTC concerns were about the width of the door unit. If visible, the doors should change to a single door with windows. If not visible, then no concerns due to lack of visibility. So,
So to that end,
mhm,
this is what was approved on the main house.
yeah,
So
Okay.
I like going back to that. Oh, and I got rid of the skylights.
okay.
But that line of reasoning just kind of falls flat. And I said that at the meeting too, and I'm gonna maintain that because it just does.
Yeah, but you're throwing out the argument, Brooke, that we should approve it because we already approved something bad on the main house. So, I mean, it's not exactly that, but I think that
Mhm.
is it visible or not? Has anybody viewed this?
Yeah, well, I don't know if any of the HTC have viewed it, but I've definitely been by there a few times, and
What do you think? Is it from Angola or Candle? Do you get to see that at all?
well, from Angola, you'll see the gable end. So right here, like, let me this is about where the building is.
Mhm.
It's probably. Sorry, I can't operate my PDF that quick, but these might be too big. Hang on.
Well, you've got a site plan.
Right. But this would be the view corridor from Angola.
And that's the building that Val just did recently with the weird second floor porch.
Yes.
Okay. Looked pretty
And-
wooded, pretty vegetated around that building, as I remember.
It's definitely vegetated. And there is a lot line. I think this lot line runs right down past this building right through here.
Mhm.
So I think that's getting subdivided as well, so.
Yeah.
There's surveyor stakes all over the place down there.
All right, we've got a lot more agenda
Yeah.
to deal with, so,
Concerns noted.
okay.
Let me just shut that and save it. Oops, hang on a second. And then shed B,
That's the one up behind Frakers. I have no concerns with that one.
okay, and I just want to show that it was like obviously an egregious plate of glass,
Yes,
but it wasn't visible, but they were just so
yeah,
hardcore on it that I was just like, okay, I'll change it to a more recognizable form
yeah.
Good.
and hopefully they'll go for that.
Yeah. Good.
All right, thanks.
Good choice. Okay. Yeah, I had no concerns on that one. I had no concerns on the garage. But you heard me on the other shed. All
I
right,
sure did.
so
All right, I'm gonna stop sharing. There you
Yep.
are.
now we're going to 21 Pleasant Street. Let's make that one. Okay. All right, 21 Pleasant. This is a weird one. Lucy sent me pictures. I don't know, have you guys been to view this site? Have you seen it?
I go by there a lot and
Have you seen it lately?
well, with the big pile of dirt in the yard.
Yeah,
Yeah, they, much
That's
dirt.
for the neighbor. That's not for, I mean, they're trying to bring that whole area up so that lot next door that was sunken down can be built on.
no,
It's
this
not-
is that's
Wait, let me, yeah, so you can't see that.
And I can share my screen if that's helpful.
Well, I've got a picture right here. Okay, so this is on the neighbor's property?
Partly, yes. That's where that 5 bay that
Uh-huh.
concept design proposed that we looked at a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, so they're taking out all these trees anyway because they're gonna kill them with the dirt.
Yeah.
but some of that fill goes up within 3 feet of the house.
Yeah, I think it's part and parcel to an entire lot resculpting. Like for both of those, I think that was part of the same. They're acting together.
All right, here's the
Is that a
site
thing
plan.
that's acceptable now, is just filling in a lot?
I don't think the HCC is very happy about it.
Yeah.
No, I don't
Stephen
think they
Welch
are.
was all over it at the last meeting.
Yeah. Looks like the trucks lost their way to Wisconsin.
To the bluff, yeah.
Okay, this really is at an angle to the road, isn't it? Yeah, and they're proposing a driveway. And this, yeah, so they're leveling. Okay, so I have another. Oh, here it is. So here's you see that? Here it is. So I guess they're planning on filling in this whole corner also to give.
Mickey, we just have the footprint on the site.
Yeah, we don't have any photos. We're not seeing any of that.
I just sent Brooke a photograph of along the side of the house.
Oh, you didn't see my other photograph earlier? The dirt pile?
We saw the dirt piles, but now we've got a drawing that has Pleasant Street on it.
Okay, what happened to that? I'm sorry. Getting lost. I need to drop this down.
You're doing great, Mickey. We're rooting for you.
Oh, now I see. Oh, I shared the wrong screen, I think. All right, here we go. Let me try it again. And I think it's this one. Do you see the dirt pile now?
Yep.
Oh, no, that's not the one.
Yeah. Oh, there's another one that Lucy had sent that I have.
I don't think Mickey got that one.
Uh,
Stop sharing. I'll get there someday.
Wouldn't it be easier just to take the trees out beforehand?
I think.
They might be public trees. So they're trying to kill them slowly.
Yeah,
so
because
that
on
they
the,
don't have to apply to move them.
All right.
That's just
Okay.
my cynical side. I'm sorry. Yeah, look at that beautiful yard.
So this is, you see this now, right?
Yeah.
Right, so they're gonna have to fill in a lot of this to get their door, their new doorways down here, I believe.
Yeah, but they could walk down to that area and they could have a driveway in
Mhm.
that space. Doesn't have to be at grade.
No, I agree. They don't have to do as much filling as they seem to be, and it's very vague about what they're proposing too, which is awkward. Because they don't have I mean, this is the site plan. They're not really telling us much. And here are the elevations.
Oh, and it looks like they want to remove the shingled railing too.
Well, they've already decided that they can, these are revisions, and they put the shingled railing back.
Okay,
Pretty sure.
so what am I looking at then?
Yeah, there's the shingled railing back again. So,
It's
these
not
are-
on the sides, Vicky.
yeah, let me, do they just, you mean here?
Right.
Yeah,
And how about here? Where's the other side? Let's see. Where's the front? Here's the front. Oh, okay, here's shingle,
that's existing.
existing, proposed. All right.
No shingle.
And the same thing.
Shingled, and they just removed it, but you're right. Put the shingled rail back. Okay. All right. There's a whole discussion that the HTC was having about the grading, and it's, I think we should make a comment about it. But aside from that, last time we said this was too many windows.
Right.
I'm reiterating that. And this window here, granted, it's an existing 1/1, but they're replacing it with an 8/1, which is awkwardly, I think the proportions are pretty awkward. And they're doing the same thing here, and they're doing the same thing here. So I'm just saying those three 8/1s, 8/1s on the north, west, and south should change to 6/1s to match the other windows. And they need to give us a window schedule.
Mhm.
But let's talk about the grade. They're obviously proposing to fill this in and put in window wells. Seems like a lot of fill to me. And you're right, Brooke, they could handle that a little bit more simply.
Yeah,
I guess the other question is, do we care if it, the change is, it's from, I don't know, how, is it such a bad thing that they're filling, I guess is what I'm questioning.
so yeah, it is. It's not great because it sort of forces the neighbor to fill their yard.
They're gonna suggest to fill it anyway, or request to fill it.
Right.
I mean,
Well, I
but
don't
you're
know.
right.
I have a problem with that much grade change. Like believe it or not, on my applications up at North Mill, I made a concerted effort to try and have the buildings move with the contours in as much as possible as I could.
Mhm.
This is an historic lot with an historic grade, and to level it out, I don't think it's appropriate in this situation.
Mhm.
I'm
I
with
think-
Brooke on this. I feel
Yeah.
like these are historic contours. I watched like 3 feet get filled in on that project that was up near Main Street off of Pleasant, and the whole back got filled in, and it was Like, can you really do that? And there are projects that even in the, that are around me here, that where I've watched a whole valley between hills get filled in of like 15 feet of fill. It's just, it's like, it is what it is, and you build with the contour.
Yeah.
I mean, you can massage things a foot or so, but this is real land moving.
All right, I'll go with that. Keep existing grade as much as possible, or just keep existing grade.
Yeah, keep existing grade.
And work
Yeah.
with-
And are those town trees?
Yeah, because they're not, these are their trees. I mean, it's not on the neighbor, this is their tree. If they filled, I don't know if that's down, I can't tell if that's dropped already at that tree level, probably has. But yeah. I can't remember.
There's, it's hard to capture on a photograph, but there's a lot of fill around those trees.
Yeah, I did see that.
And
Okay. I think we can stick to the concept of we're just keep the existing grade and work with it rather than doing all this fill. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? What do you guys want?
Yeah. The relocated deck staircase on the west elevation and the south elevation. I
Mhm.
think that in our last meeting, we had asked for that staircase to be out of the way, like just not visible. Or somehow, just tucked in a little bit more to the building.
Yeah, integrated between the,
Yeah, and in both cases, it's still visible.
I don't know how where you're gonna put it to hide it, but I.
Inside
sure-
that L. That's a big L right
Well,
there.
that's where the deck is, so you have to pull the deck off the wall.
No, you just slide the stair just becomes a part of the same footprint as the deck.
Proposed. So here it is at here.
Right.
So
So
maybe,
so like it would go underneath the
it'll
triple
go to all the way to
windows.
the right, right? Yeah, right there. You could put the stairs right there.
all right, integrate the stair into the quarter L.
Yeah, the interior, the innermost
Within
part
the
of
deck
L.
perimeter.
Yeah.
Mickey, would you please go back to the south elevation?
Mhm. So,
It looks so suburban there with the French doors, below the deck and then the French door on the deck and going up 2 stories and the whole thing being 3 stories. It just, it seems so out of place there. I mean, it's one thing where you, in the existing south elevation, there's just a few windows that, okay, there's like a cellar and there's some light, natural light in there, but it feels so developed and new. I think it really changes the character to have that 2-story addition
It looks
on
like a
top
townhouse.
of the basement. Yeah,
I agree with you, Angus. I felt it was sort of mitigated because it's underneath the porch, the deck, so it's back in the shadows. You don't see it a lot from the road. But I hear what you're saying. And
is
they
that
don't-
obstructed?
Maybe they don't have that outermost French door, pair of French doors.
Yeah, to reduce it to 1.
Yeah.
You're not really gonna see too much of that one.
Well, that addition is going to come out quite a ways.
Yeah. Well, it's already there. They're just making it a 2nd floor.
Oh, is it? Okay, I didn't realize that.
So if you can't see it now, you're not gonna see it.
All right,
You'll see the corner of the deck
right.
and maybe they'll do more clearing. But we can mention maybe you're just going with reduce the doors to 1.
Yeah, the fenestration on the lower level is just creating too much focus on.
And that I did say, there's 3 existing. And
And there should be 3.
and there should remain to be 3.
How much light is that going to bring in underneath the deck anyway?
Well, the French doors?
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot.
It looks like there are 2/2s in the
basement.
Yeah,
I know, there's kind of a
I think I'd
mishmash.
rather, I mean, I don't know.
It
It
went
looks
over-
like 3 different windows for what's existing,
Yeah.
Yeah,
if that's accurate.
I don't care. What do you guys want to say about those windows?
same number of openings.
I think it's okay. They changed to 6.
Yeah,
over
6/1, yeah.
1. Okay.
The other side of the house, the basement windows are 2/2s. It looks like.
You're right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Are they, well, they're changing those too. They're totally changing those.
Yeah, I don't know that I mean, I'm partial to 2/2s, but yeah. It's a
The
bungalow.
2/2s look more correct in the basement.
Yep.
They kind of do.
Well, I guess it also differentiates the layers and what makes it look less like less of a 3-story building here.
I think so.
All right, so let's go 2/2 in the basement. All right. Okay.
That was quick.
Yeah. Next is North Water Street. Oh yeah, this was kind of confusing. It's hard to really tell what they're trying to accomplish here. They're removing the request to change the west elevation windows. So whatever that was, we're not seeing it anymore. So now we're just looking at this north. Rear L and all windows proposed to change are from 2013 HDC approved renovation. And those are right here. So they're showing 6 light windows up in this area. And I guess maybe this is existing, but they're showing 6/6s and 6 lights. And same thing down there. And that they're proposing is, so they're changing these from 6 lights to 6/6s, and they're keeping these more or less the same as they got approved before. I don't really care about this one. My comment, and I'll just read it quickly, is traditionally the second floor windows in town were the same size as the windows below. Sometimes they were shorter, but very rarely narrower. All new windows should match the width of the window below and be TDLs. Now, I'm sticking by that one. I think that's true, that old windows, I looked around at houses in Clay Lancaster and Street View, old houses generally had the same width windows on the second floor.
Right next, like the existing conditions though show, oh, that's right. These existing conditions are from a prior construction, a recent construction. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
the old part, these are all the same width.
Yep.
Maybe they're shorter, it's hard to tell. Any thoughts about that?
I agree.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Fine.
All right, here we go to the interesting one. This one gets more and more interesting. Easton Street. I'm sorry, I can't help it. So that was what? East, yeah, here's Easton Street side, here's the water side. This is just a monster of a building. And here's the other side. Here is, I guess, a couple different versions facing the water. Not real sure what we're looking at, but I think they seem to be favoring this projecting hip. Although my issue with this, one of them, is first of all, the plate's higher. Why is that? And there's nothing below it. It's projecting second floor mass with nothing below it, as you see here. And then there's the front. I mean, the front facade on its own to me is relatively okay. I'm not sure about that dormer, but I don't know. I didn't spend the time, I was too distracted with the rest of it. These side views to me are just overwhelming. To speed things up, I'm just going to read my comments. Looking at the east and west elevations, you can see the east and kind of the west. The rear wing of this house is the exact same proportion as the front. It is like two attached houses. The back portion needs to step down considerably and read as an additive mass. The massing on the west lacks any sense of architectural order and hierarchy, and the fire escape is completely inappropriate. That's down here. No locus was provided, but if it was, you would see that the neighboring houses are much less massive. I'm going to open up the oh my God, 34. 34 east. Which one is it? It's right here. Okay, so here's the neighbors. Here's the site, and there's the long building they've gotten approval to demolish. But look at next door. This is right up on the water. This is up on the water. This is up on the water. And the same goes down the row. Everything on these larger lots, the house is down by the water, and there's generally outbuildings. So what did I have? No locus was provided, but if it was, you would see that the neighboring houses are much less massive and sit further back away from the road. The main houses are on the water side with a secondary building on the Easton Street side. This program should conform to the neighbors and be broken into two different buildings. As proposed, the single structure is much too massive for the neighborhood context. This is a highly visible location, front and back. It deserves a building or maybe two buildings that conforms completely to all of the HDC standards for proportion, scale, and additive massing. So far, this is not yet there. So
That says it.
Nothing to add. It should be noted that there is a 50-foot buffer that is forcing this building towards Easton Street.
I saw that. Now, of course, they don't need the steps right there.
Right.
They could eliminate those, and you know, the deck could be, in fact, it should be probably less deep. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing could be rearranged. So that is for sure.
It's just killer. It's just way too much building. Right, you know, I'm closer to the street. It's going to really stand out, I think, relative to the neighbors.
It's more reminiscent of the Frisbee house. Just if you go to your left, cursor left, keep going. That thing.
This?
Yeah, I mean that's a wall.
Isn't that the breakers?
Yeah.
It's the breakers, yeah.
Okay.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's a monster too.
And
But
that shouldn't be the example.
But it's not even, because it does have some let's see it, you know, one-story massing to the street side.
Yes, such as it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's right. Doesn't say much of it.
But yes, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to talk more about this one?
No, we'll
Well,
leave it up to you.
I'm not really getting into much detail. I just don't think it deserves that level yet. I just don't think it's the massing is there. So maybe I'll mention that fixed massing first, and talk about details.
It looks like a hotel.
I know, especially with fire escape.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Is this our last one now?
No.
Got two more or three.
All right, 26 Washington, again. All right, you know what, he submitted this, which is interesting. This is the base flood elevation up at 11. This is the velocity zone. I'll give them that. It's up pretty high. Grade is at 4, so it's only 7 feet above the grade. But they're creating a 2-foot, so they're calling out for a 2-foot floor separation, which they don't need to do. They could put flush beams and have a 1-foot floor sandwich. But they're also putting it 2 feet above the BFE, which I have never seen before. But we don't deal with a lot of stuff in the velocity zone.
Is that for ductwork?
I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be there.
I'm wondering if it's because of, wave action, that the waves are going to be above the flood, and they're saying they need that protection from the waves.
Well, doesn't elevation 11 give you that protection?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So here I go. Every effort should be made to lower the first floor of this building. Is a 2-foot separation from framing to BFE required by code? Normal practice is to have the bottom of the framing at BFE. And it is possible to use flush beams and reduce the floor assembly to 1 foot. So that's what I'm saying there.
And it can all be pressure treated and drop it even another foot.
Well, I think the building code does actually say to keep the framing members, but maybe you're right. Maybe if it's pressure treated, that's not required.
Yeah,
So it can drop
it could
what,
drop 3 feet.
1 to 2 feet, or as much as 3 feet.
Well, it
I'm
could drop
saying-
4 feet.
Maybe.
It says a 2-foot floor assembly plus the 2-foot separation. With PT joists, that's 4 feet.
I don't know the code well enough to state that specifically. If we could come up with some more definitive
Mhm.
knowledge base there, I'd love it, but I don't have it. So here we go to the front. So this is the previous submission. It was this 4-bay gable forward, which was crazy. Now we're back to what was originally approved, more or less. Granted, he's putting in a flush dormer. So I want to point out this flush dormer is right here. Oops. Pretty awkward shed roof on that thing.
Yikes.
These 2 wall planes are 6 inches apart.
Oh,
And,
God.
that gable projects away from that forward thing. It's only 6 inches. So this is, and here's the plate wrapping around the entire building, which
What is the main roof pitch? That looks like a 5 or 6 or something.
it's a 7 pitch. It's too shallow right here on the front of the building. That's a 7 pitch. Even before they had an 8 pitch. That's an 8. So I'll continue. West elevation, the platform at the bottom of the stairs, this thing here. The platform at the bottom of the stairs remains a mystery. How do you get off of it? Are there more stairs to reach it that aren't shown? I mean, I don't know what that is. The 7 and 12 roof pitch is too shallow. The gable end window adds to the height and should be removed. The roof walk is too wide. The windows should be pulled tighter to the center for better proportion. Tone down the detailing as much as possible. Drop the wide corner boards with capitals and splayed window head casings. This area had very simple utilitarian buildings. A formal Greek revival doesn't belong here. Previous HDC discussions have all asked for the back wings to telescope down to 1.5 stories. A careful look at the floor plan and the south elevation shows that the south facing gable is created. That was this thing down here. Is created by a 6-inch sliver of the building projecting just enough to add a corner board. This highly visible 6-inch jog on the front of the building is more of a visual gimmick than a credible architectural massing and should not be allowed. The lowered plate is good, but stepping it back up around the entire rear of the building is not appropriate. True additive massing should be subordinate to the main mass, and that requires lowering the plate. The second stairway makes it look like an apartment building and should be integrated into the massing better so it's less visible. Discussion during the demo application suggested that the replacement building should have the character and simplicity of the original structure. This proposal is not in line with that thinking and needs to be toned down and scaled down. So, now we could continue and talk about what French doors, too many French doors and symmetry and
No, I think the big theme has not been addressed, just like the other one.
yeah, the
The
massing, fix the massing.
I have some interest, I have some code stuff if you're interested.
Yeah,
Let's see, base flood elevation at the depth of peak elevation of flooding, including wave height that has a 1%. So this is the minimum. So design flood elevation shall be used to define flood hazard areas. At a minimum, the design flood elevation shall be the higher of the following, which the elevation of the design flood associated with the area designated on a flood hazard map adopted by the community or otherwise legally designated. So basically that says he can drop this building down to the flood elevation. And then the other part is flood resistant materials. Building materials and installation methods used for flooring and interior and exterior walls and wall coverings below the elevation required in section R322.2 or 322.3 shall be flood damage resistant materials that conform to the provisions of FEMA TB2. So that says right there that you can build in the flood elevation zone. To me, anyway, that's how I'm hearing it or reading it. That if you use materials that are resistant to flooding, you could even build below that base flood elevation. So
I don't think that's true. I know even years and years ago, even, you know, the Brant Point area all around in town, you've never been able to have your floor level on an addition or especially a new building below the base flood elevation on the FEMA map, like AE 8 zones, which all of Brant Point is an AE 8 basically. We always had to have the first floor at 8. I think that later on they even said you had to have the first floor framing at above 8.
right, but it says right here you can
You can if it's
the right materials. That's what that section says.
So what we're talking about is it could drop 3 to 4 feet.
It could drop 5 feet.
well,
But I know that's unreasonable, but I'm just saying, like, you know, what he's proposing, it's like we can also propose the opposite and have a leg to stand on.
I think I don't want to propose much without, you know, because none of us are engineers. I think that we need to throw some doubt into this and have them prove to us that that's the minimum they can get away with. And I don't think that is. So I think we just have to ask for, show us the code that says they have to be 2 feet above the BFE.
Yeah.
And no one needs 2 feet for floor assembly.
No, you can make that smaller.
See, I don't know, no, you can't read that.
There it is in black and white.
There it is, right there.
Okay. Well, what is that? Is that in the IRC? Where are you reading that?
IRC,
Okay.
that's the IRC.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. The massing and height are the main issues.
Yes. Hopefully, I mean, reading the HDC's previous comments, I think they were all sort of agreeing with the, agrees with HSAB, Oliver. The proportions of the original gable forward submission were better. She agrees with HSAB, 3-bay work better, secondary beds need to be pushed back. Not sure what pushback means, but the second stair isn't appropriate. Fenestration comes completely with HSAB. East elevation. So they didn't talk about it a lot, but I think they're implying, and I know they've said it in previous ones, to telescope it down, those words. So, all right, anything else on this one?
Nope.
All right, couple more. 26 easy. We're just getting so many of these back with no changes. I mean, very little changes. It's painful.
They're trying to wear us down.
I know they are.
Good luck.
It's not us I'm worried about.
I know.
All right, I'm going to go right to the comments. It's wasting everyone's time. Would like to read. Thornwell agrees with HSAB about second floor deck on the front. East elevation should be 3 small dormers. The roof walk isn't appropriate. Large second floor windows, increasing complexity. Dormer should shift away. Coombs, we've repeatedly asked that this be reduced in size, and no change has been made. It should be smaller. This is overpowering and doesn't reflect anything in the area. Roof walk, second floor balcony is inappropriate. Oliver agrees with much what's been said. First floor is okay. Appreciate simpler south elevation, eliminate the middle dormer, reduce the pitch, eliminate the roof walk, blah, 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 whole. So third floor dormers increase when it's not simplification. The previous submission was a little dormer scale would be better. Okay. So we have still have a second floor balcony. The building hasn't changed much in height. Is this the elevation? Here we go. Okay, this shows both of the critical elevations. So you can see what they had before. The 3 dormers. This is a pretty good improvement. I think these dormers are still too wide. The balcony, the height. What's, look at the eave line here. Here's the second floor window heads. And look at how far separated this is from where the fascia would be, or the cornice. That's just, you don't really see that because of the, it's a pretty big overhang.
But you can see it on the front, if you zoom in on the south elevation, there's like 2 shingle courses.
And you're only seeing 2 out of the 4 that are probably there.
Yeah.
Because of that overhang. And
I don't think that's an overhang. I think they ran the rakes long.
I think if it weren't, you'd see, because look at 1, 2, 3, 4 courses of shingles to here.
Oh, right.
So, and we're only seeing 2 of them. I think it's a pretty big overhang.
Also, look at the distance between the gutter line and where it hits the gable dormer. There's a lot of roof there.
Yeah, right here.
So there's
But
no
there's-
projecting, sorry.
But there's only 6 inches different between,
Mhm.
the face of the dormer and the face of the
Yeah.
roof.
Yeah. It's basically nearly a flush dormer.
So there's no projecting rake either, just a projecting eave. That's a little peculiar.
Well, they're both projecting. I mean, it's like an overhang of about 18 inches, it looks like to me.
Right, but the rake.
the rake.
doesn't-
It's flush.
The rake.
Oh,
is
you're right.
flush.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're
I
right.
mean, like with a flat box soffit, yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's fine, but this is definitely not that.
So it's not congruent with the lack of projecting rake.
Yeah,
The cupola is hokey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
tall.
Yeah.
didn't he have one on this building before? Didn't it, at first he had one and then he
It
switched?
did. It's gone back and forth between roof walk and cupola.
Just keep everything off other than a lightning rod.
Said that.
I agree with you about in the south elevation, the dormers being way too wide. I mean, the whole idea of it being 3 stories and flood level, yada, yada, and having that roof have anything in it just seems like a real push compared to most of the historic buildings in town. But if there were to be dormers at all, it would want to be to the size of the windows, not that extra gain of room size.
Mhm. Well, let me read what I got, and then you'll see. Everyone has consistently asked for this building to be reduced in size and the front balcony to be removed. Yet the building is still too tall and massive for this corner lot, and the balcony remains. The large overhanging eaves conceal the fact that the second floor plate is several shingle courses above the second floor window head casing. The eaves should sit on the window casing with no shingles above. The 9-foot ceiling height on the first floor could drop a foot, lowering the height significantly. The reduction in the number of dormers is good, but they are too wide. Third floor dormers should be just a little wider than the windows. The cupola is unnecessary and just adds to the height. Eliminate it. The south facing first floor fenestration is shown as doors, but they're 2 feet off the ground, creating an inappropriate false use for doors. They should be normal windows. That's these weird things. I mean, I think this is an interesting elevation, and in a different context that might be worth trying, but it's 2 feet off the ground.
Mhm.
If it were at ground or at a terrace, it'd be different.
It'd be different.
So if those become windows, the doors are like ridiculous.
It's a fabrication contrivance.
Yeah, I mean, you could have the same windows that you have on the east elevation.
Yeah, I mean, those are acceptable downtown commercial windows. I'd maybe try to mix them up with some double hungs or just, you know. So, you know, I could talk more about this windows too much. They seem to be, you know, I think Carrie commented on that. But the balcony, come on,
That's an easy one.
that's an easy one. Anything else?
It's kind
The
of tough
fenes-
because John Ray's building has a shingle balcony.
Yeah, it's a mistake.
So does the Dreamland.
Somehow it got through.
Mhm.
I think you got it.
All right. Last one. 10 Lincoln Avenue. I'm gonna start reading. The consensus at the last HGC meeting was that this house should not move forward. It should stay where it is. There was also consensus that the shed dormers should move slightly down to the break in the roof line. They are now being proposed as gable dormers. Let me find that. So I don't know what happened to those sheds, but suddenly they're gables again. There was consensus that the shed dormers, they are now being proposed as gable dormers, which is not in keeping with the original architecture. The shed dormers are quieter and more appropriate. The triple windows on the third floor over here. The triple windows on the third floor, east elevation, should not be attached to the door. They should change to 2 windows or 3 smaller windows in order to create a band of shingles between. And on the back, ganging 5 French doors right there together on the south elevation is too much. They should be separated. All things we said before. Anything to add?
Oh, it's disappointing to see those gables back.
No.
Yeah,
Aren't they smaller than what they were?
Yeah,
Originally?
originally they were like steep, 12 pitch dormers.
Yeah,
I mean, this is better than the original, but I think the sheds were more, this is existing with sheds. Why are we changing the format?
yeah, it's much more in keeping.
He has filled in the porch railing with shingles. We sort of asked him to do that. They just filled the whole thing in.
I mean, if he wants a bigger window in those sheds, can't he push the shed walls forward? I mean, I think there's plenty of,
I know, I mean, and they look pretty far forward. Let me see this side.
you could push it forward like a foot, I think.
Well, then they'd be flush. I mean, this is set back, but not by a lot.
Well, if you look at the shed, the original as-built,
Yeah,
it looks like
Oh.
they're back further than,
comparing it to that one. Yeah, you're right. That's well back.
Yeah.
I guess. Is it?
yeah, I'd say.
do you want a photograph?
Oh, yeah, I've got a photograph. Let's stop sharing. I think you did send me one. I need to find it. Here it is. Yeah, existing.
Yeah, I think there's room. If you-
Well, I think we decided that it could have worked before with the shed dormers, just dropping them down a little bit. I think they would slide forward as they did that. But we seem to lost that somehow. So, anything to add on this one?
I think you said it.
What's he doing with that chimney?
He's added the chimney, and that's a good thing. It's not exactly where it was. I think it was exposed on the exterior, according to the original photographs, but at least it's there. I think that's good.
There's still an awkward connection of the back shed dormer just hitting above the break. I mean, it's like 2 or 3 inches to
Whereas the back
have it hit at the break.
oh, right here.
Yeah, but you can see it in the profile in the west elevation. Yeah, there.
Oh, yeah. That one I don't think we're going to see too much of.
No, but that was the issue with the front
Yeah.
dormers before they went back to gables.
You're
Is
right.
that it could have just hit right at that spot.
Well, I'm going to leave that one alone just because I try to stay not too much, focus on the important stuff. And if they fix the front and put in what we want, what they showed before, presumably they'll fix that one too. Doors. Anything else?
Oh, how about the wall of doors in the back on the south elevation?
Mhm.
Did that change?
It actually did change. I think he's got it down to 6. I mean, from 5, I think there were 6 at one
Okay.
point. We're not seeing that, but it was on a lower, it's on a different. But it's still, I said that's too many and should be separated. You just don't see that kind of a panel of French doors in the older buildings.
You didn't
Right.
use it.
All right,
Yep.
okay. I think we're good. getting sick of seeing the same old buildings every time
I know.
with very little change. All right, so how about a motion for approving the comments?
Well, wait, I want to make one comment about seeing the same applications. It not only is it not fair to us in HDC, it's not fair to the client. And I've always considered part of our job is to look out for the interests of the client to make sure they get a building that is appropriate for the neighborhoods, whatever. But to keep dragging stuff through the muck is, it's unnecessary. It's not a good thing.
It's really frustrating for me anyway, to see the same thing. And when the HGC, I was gonna suggest to Diana, if she were on, or anybody that would listen, that when revisions are requested, that they request revisions with the following changes. And say on the revision request, remove the balcony and lower the building 2 feet. That way, there's real specific direction to the applicant, that they don't just want to see, a window move a foot over to the left. They want to see some very specific revisions. And if it's part of the motion, I think that just carries more weight. Will they do that? I don't know. But I was even going to write it into our comments. I was going to call it the revision recommendations. So when they make, someone says make a motion for revisions to include shorten the dormer windows and change the front door. It's pretty clear.
On that point, Mickey, any of these are we want to see back?
Yeah, I've got that. I didn't say it each time, but every one of them I've got say I would like to see recommendation, that I would like to see revisions.
Okay.
So are you okay with me putting in at the very end revision recommendations?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
go for it.
See what happens? I mean, Diane's probably the only one that's going to read these, but that's worth a try. Even though I'm going to send them out to everybody, maybe the others are reading it. I hope they are. So how about that motion for approving the comments?
Yes.
Lucy,
Second.
So moved.
no, Lucy made the motion,
Oh.
Brooke seconded it. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
And motion to adjourn.
Yes.
And by Lucy,
Yes.
seconded by Brooke. All those in favor?
Yes.
All right.
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Aye.
All right. See you later. I'm headed down to the
Thank you.
island tomorrow. I don't know if we'll see anybody,
All right.
Oh, I'm here.
but